I'm Jack Burmester, and you're watching utefans.net.
Hey, Ute fans, welcome to another great episode of The Extra Point, brought to you by utefans.net. I'm joined by Mr. Mark Oberg and Cal the Rocket Beck. How are you guys doing this morning?
In pain.
Yes, obviously very disappointing. We were just talking about the stats comparison between Arizona and Utah last night, and it was pretty dang close. Arizona just capitalized on opportunities, and we did not last night. So obviously very disappointing. Mark, I want to get your initial impressions of this loss to the Wildcats.
Um, One team looked like they had just come off a bye and were prepped, and the other team looked like they were trying to coast into a bye. And boy, we need the bye. Um, but yeah, early in the game, obviously we moved the ball really well between the 20s and then or all the way down to the 5. And then it got tough. And just if we had kicked field goals, I mean, this is Sunday morning quarterbacking, but if we'd kicked field goals, we would have been right there. But we were going for the punch out early. I mean, I understand that strategy, but yeah, caught up with us, and credit Arizona, especially Noah Fifita. Wow, that kid made plays over and over. I have to give him credit.
Cal, what are your takeaways from this disappointing conference?
I don't know what's worse, the feeling of deflation after you don't fulfill what is possible. I mean, and we fart fumbled and fell down last night. There was no comparison as to who had the energy, who came to win a football game. We mentioned a lot of bully ball last week and the week prior. That there was none of that last night. We did not control the line of scrimmages. Mark was saying earlier, the average on the ground was higher than the average in the air. Arizona came in prepared and had mismatches in mind, and we could not capitalize in any way, shape, or form. The only positives that I think that we had throughout the game were mistakes made by Arizona, the interception that we had, but we shot ourselves in the foot on third down, which defensively is our national strength. We didn't give up too many third downs to them, but they didn't need them when it mattered. We were less than 50% on our third down efficiency and a goose egg on fourth. If there was a defense that made a statement last night, it was Arizona's against our offense. It's the same feeling of when you put food in the microwave for too long and it's not covered and you hear it explode. That disappointment of I should have known better is how we acted in the red zone last night. We should have known better. And I get it. We're at home. It's dark mode. We want it coming off of a huge win on the road. Like it was supposed to be storybook setting, and it just did not manifest.
So I actually was dealing with an issue last night with one of my guests to the game, and I had to leave right after Noah Fafita threw that last touchdown pass to the back of the end zone. Beautiful pass. Holy cow. I mean, you can't defend that very well. He's a real talent, and we knew that coming into this game. What I wonder is what happened with our defense last night? You know, I mean, we gave up 23 points. What do you think about our defense's performance against this Arizona offense, Mark?
Um, well, in terms of points on the board, the defense played well enough. 23. We struggled in run D, surprisingly. But it seemed like they were opening holes, and their two backs were causing problems. Um,
fortunately, they never took it all the way to the house, but it was keeping our defense on the field a bit longer. They only had 57 snaps total for the game. I'm counting. So yeah, the defense struggled a little bit, but this one was really mostly on the offense. No question.
And Cal, what do you think?
Time of possession highlights what we've done well the last 2 weeks versus and then didn't do well last night. Arizona was almost even with us in time of possession. We missed a lot of tackles. Missed tackles seems to be a plague, but like I said earlier, the one-on-one matchups that they were able to conjure up, they took advantage of. We saw one-on-one battles being fought for down in Stillwater last week. Last night, they wanted those one-on-ones. I mean, Fafita's a local kid. He's going to come in and play with an edge with a chip on his shoulder. He's going to come in and play with an edge. Beyond being Arizona and the underdog coming into play in a Rice, this kid had something to prove, and he definitely made a statement last night against what we have become accustomed to, a dominating defense against the run. And like Mark said, we couldn't stop anything last night, and the clock kept ticking, and we are not built for the comeback. And it's so far our offense hasn't shown that. And football's a game of momentums, swings, but every momentum swing that we benefited from fell short on the scoreboard.
Right. And I just looking at the stats here, they had 358 total yards. We had 364. They passed for 197 yards, and we passed for 280. They held us to under 100 on the ground, and they rushed for 161, averaging 5.9 yards a carry for them and 5.3 for us. So not a lot of difference there. How do we feel about Isaac Wilson's performance last night? How did he stack up against Arizona? What do you guys think?
It was his youth. I mistaked the sparks of possibility last week into the bonfire of now. And I was excited. I said at the beginning of the show last week, the football gods were smiling on me being a Jets fan, and the way that he played in Stillwater. Like it was amazing to watch. I bought into the hype a little too much and didn't stay skeptical enough. And they brought it. I mean, you've got 2 weeks to prepare for a quarterback. You're going to give him fits. And they knew exactly how to put him in circumstances that would showcase the lack of experience.
Mark?
Yeah, I agree with Cal on that one. I thought, yeah, obviously he threw 20 for 40 for 280. Not horrific. You want to see a higher percentage.
The first half was great.
Yeah. Right.
Phenomenal. Best first half offensively we've had.
Yeah. But what I saw over and over again was he threw into tight coverage, sometimes, completely ill-advised, and we got out of it. But he threw a lot of passes that were extremely well defended, especially by their corner, number 1, Davis. That guy made a bunch of plays. Yeah, how much do you put that on quarterback? It's hard to know. But I think he's still getting better. This is a setback, obviously, but it's against a defense that was prepped and had an extra week. So, and motivated, like you said. Yeah, kind of a sobering loss, but you pick yourself up and get ready for the next game. There's no other choice.
Now Singer played tough. Singer fought for some balls, especially in the first half, to keep drives alive. Like they have a connection. But when that connection's taken away, that lack of experience can take the forefront, unfortunately. The missed pass to Loner in the end zone. When you have a kid that tall, it's got to be a jump ball. It's just those little things that I don't know if he's been exposed to or has had to learn or acclimate into his game yet, but it was we experienced the tail end of inexperience last night versus the week prior.
Well put.
Well, how do we feel about, I mean, I can kind of guess how you guys feel about it, but against Baylor, Cam Rising scrambling, gets tackled out of bounds, hurts his hand. We haven't seen him since. A lot of fans are really upset about that, and rightfully so. And some people are even mad at Cam. Not sure if it's rational anger because, if you get hurt, you get hurt. But I had a conversation with a former player last week who just basically said that Cam has become kind of a distraction. So I'm just curious what you guys think about that, because I'd wager that there'd be a good chance we would have won last night with Cam on the field. So, Cal, what do you think about this situation?
We talked about the distraction last week, and we're all jumping to conclusions to fill in the gaps of knowledge that we have as football fans. That's natural human nature. To say, I mean, the fans are going to say anything and everything to get a response or to validate their hurt feelings. Is he a distraction? I would trust that the coaches know enough about the locker room culture and about coaching football that they would alleviate or avoid that from happening. It's not a conspiracy theory in the sense that those coaches are thinking about what's next and what's best for the team and everybody involved. I don't think that Cam's has a desire not to be on the field. I don't think that it's a power struggle or a passing of the torch or a quarterback conspiracy. They're acclimating their plans moving forward and still winning the conference championship based on injuries that are happening every single day and every single week. I mean, defense will be different when we get Van back on the corner at the end. There's a lot of things that can benefit this team, but right now the major focus has been the headlines of our freshman quarterback. Being a distraction, I'll put that on the coach. If there's anybody to be upset with, if somebody's a distraction in the locker room, it's the coach's culture, and they have big enough shoulders to handle that.
Mark?
Yeah, I can see from the fan standpoint, this is a little bit of this is aggravating, especially after a loss like this, where it's like, where is our guy? This is like last year. And I think it was after the week 4, was it the Oregon State game last year when they declared he's out for the year. So we're just riding with who we've got. Fortunately, we've got a bye week, so we will have had 6 weeks to get beyond this, to get this situation straightened out. But I agree, it's starting to be, there's too much chatter about it, and it's becoming kind of a problem, and that's a problem. We just need to, hopefully he was throwing the ball yesterday, and in warm-up still had the glove on, but he was throwing the ball. It was clear they were going to go with Wilson because it looked like Rising had no velocity.
And that's what I've heard come out of the media, is that it's a matter of he can't put the zip on the ball, that he needs to be efficient in and I mean, it's a tricky injury. One day it can feel a lot better than it does the next day. I don't know what the rehab schedule is, the protocol, or anything like that, but I think we've become spoiled being fantasy football team owners, because we need to make crucial decisions off of an injury report by a specific deadline in the week. And I think we've become acclimated and accustomed to the privilege of getting that information from the NFL. It's not the case in NCAA. They don't have to tell you what the injuries are or what the timetable is. There isn't that aspect of it, especially under Whittingham's control. And it is a powder keg of emotions for fans to be flustered like that. It wasn't that long ago that we had these feelings with our running back room, when our running back room was thin and we didn't know who's going to step up, and then somebody left the team and then they come back and have the greatest game of their career to close out the season. Like, I mean, this stuff happens. It's just we're on the downside of the short stick right now.
Yeah.
Well, obviously we have a bye week coming up. We'll do another segment here in just a minute on what the future looks like for the Utes, what we expect out of them in the next couple of games. We'll be right back.
The Ken Garff University Club in Rice-Eccles Stadium is Utah's premier social club. Members enjoy incredible dining experiences, co-working spaces, exclusive member events, and fun game experiences like tailgating, pep rallies, and watch parties. Membership starts as low as $80 a month and is actively accepting new memberships. To learn more about joining this beautiful club, go to kengarfuniversityclub.com to learn more.
Hey, you fans, welcome back to the show. I'm with Cal Beck and Mark Oberg here, and we just wrapped up the Arizona-Utah matchup. We've got a bye week coming up. We really need it. Hopefully that gives Cam Rising the time he needs to fully recover and return to the field. We're going to be playing Arizona State down in Tempe. How good is Arizona State this year, guys?
They're okay, but the odds are less for us to win than they were predicted, not the line, than it was against Arizona. It's on the road. It's always tricky us going down to the desert, down in the deeper desert to play down there.
What do you think, Mark?
Well, Arizona State is better than people thought they were going to be. Kenny Willingham's, he knows how to coach. So I think, there's going to be some adversity, but I think getting a bye week before that game is essential. This is a team that needs to recharge and recalibrate.
So obviously, lofty expectations for the Utes this season. And the wind got taken out of our sails last night. I'm sure a lot of fans are wondering what the future holds and if we're a playoff team. I mean, there's a lot of things that we don't know. And much to our chagrin, BYU is undefeated. I thought I'd throw that in there that we're living in their shadow at this point. Not that this is a BYU football podcast, and not that I even really want to talk about them too much, but they seem to be having a great season so far. So I don't know. I honestly, I feel like Utah underperformed last night. I think you guys probably agree with me there. We just didn't show up to play.
Well, we've got the bye week. Mike said we're going to have an advantage against ASU coming because they play. So we're going to have more time to prep for them. But the players, me and Mark were talking about this earlier, the players don't have time to grieve or rest on their laurels. I mean, there comes a point on Sunday when every player transitions from last week's game or the last game to focusing on the next appointment. They'll get some time off. They'll be away from the facility with the bye week. Some will maybe travel home. And it's a recharge moment. ASU's strong on the ground. It's good. Our defense is going to have to get back to playing the way that they do, stopping the run, number one, and just being hard-nosed. Bully ball is what I expect to see in the future. It's what's necessary for us to maintain our trajectory for our end-of-the-season goals.
Mark?
I agree with Cal. Yeah, I mean, run defense is something that can be fixed, and run blocking is something that can be fixed with effort and with energy. What was it? Something that Rick Majerus used to say, fatigue makes cowards of us all. And when you're just low on energy, or if the other team's got more juice, there's a difference. I certainly saw that yesterday early in the afternoon. I watched a little of Baylor against BYU, and Baylor, they weren't scraping off of blocks. They weren't doing anything. They looked horrible until they woke up a little bit later, but you just can't do that. And the bye week this week should help us get things back on track.
Well, just looking at the schedule, guys, got at Arizona State. Then we've got TCU coming to Rice Eccles. Then we're going to Houston. Then we host BYU. Then we play what's looking like to be a better Colorado team. And then we've got Iowa State at home, and that'll be a tough one. And then we finish the season with UCF. So it's tough to say. I mean, obviously it's impossible to predict, but I'm still pretty optimistic that, especially if we're healthy, we should do well with the rest of our schedule. What do you guys think?
I think it's one game at a time. It has to be. So, right now we've got a week off, and then it's complete focus on ASU, and then it's the game after that. if you don't approach it that way, I mean, certainly the team does it. The coaches enforce that. There's sometimes the players don't even know who they're playing, the week after next. And that's the way they operate. And I think the fans kind of need to take a page out of their book and just focus on the next game. It's one step at a time.
We got outcoached in some aspects last night, and we were playing from behind, momentum wise, scoreboard wise. I'm going to even micro focus it even more than one game at a time and say it comes down to one key of victory at this point. I mean, there is a list of things on the locker room wall that is the checklist for success: team identity, end versus opponent. And we did not check off very many boxes last night. We didn't play bully ball. They're going to need to rediscover their identity on defense. Do we give up yards or do we stop yards? You want to talk about a lack of identity, but people figuring it out quickly, and their keys, the transition of Georgia against Bama last night after halftime. Even though they did end up falling short, they remembered they're not playing the ball against Bama. They needed to play their type of football, and they were able to find their stride. We had a stride early. It was just no points in the red zone is a nail in the coffin. And to have it, and again, I get why we went for it on fourth down instead of kicking the field goal and putting points on the board. But hindsight being 2020, it's easy to say that. We had 0 sacks, and that was partially by design, because he wasn't holding the ball long or staying in the pocket long, except for on those deep ones. But he knew where he was going to throw it. We've got to redefine what we do to our opponents and move forward doing it. In 1994, when we were undefeated, 8-0, and went to New Mexico and lost, it was gut-wrenching. Horrible. As a personal experience, that was one of the biggest losses I had ever had to endure. But we didn't have time because we had to go to Air Force the next week. And it was a matter of, I mean, I remember Fred Whittingham, just basically telling the defense, y'all can't feel sorry for yourselves. It didn't go the way we wanted, but we have more football to play. And the goal is still there. The end of the season goal is still there. If we could take care of business one game at a time, we can put ourselves in a situation to be playing for the conference championship. But right now, we have to figure out how we're going to do it and make sure we're doing the appropriate things. Stopping the run. Offensive line has to generate a run game to alleviate pressure off of Isaac to keep the defense honest. The challenges are apparent, but they're gonna figure it out.
Any final thoughts from you, Mr. Oberg?
Sunday morning after a gut-wrenching loss like that, especially when it looked like we might have a chance of pulling it off. Yeah, my voice is a little lower. Just, I'll watch some football and go out and catch the fall colors, forget about it, get ready to come back week after next.
Well, I'll just say briefly that you think about our last couple of great seasons, we've been in the same situation. We've had some really tough losses. I remember 2021, we lost to Oregon State, and we bounced back to go to the Rose Bowl. 2022, we had I forget who we lost to, but you get my point, is that this team has faced a lot of adversity, and I have a lot of confidence in their ability to bounce back. So I'm still excited for the rest of the season. Obviously, losing to Arizona the way we did at home especially really hurts, but
that's the thing. We don't lose at home, and we got manhandled.
Yeah. So we'll just have to see what happens. But we're not fair weather fans. We're gonna stick by this team through thick and thin, and we've got a good chance to win against Arizona State. So with that said, thanks for watching, you fans. We will be off next week because of the bye week. We'll be back the following week after Arizona State. So stay tuned and go Utes.
Go Utes.